And happy Wednesday, everyone. My name is meteorologist Heather Kane. It's time for our daily hail forecast, sponsored as always by C3 Group, Merlin Law Group, American Contractors Show, as well as Atlas Roofing. Thank you guys for sponsoring our videos. So let's get right into our weather headlines. We have been counting down the top 10 storms of 2022, and today we're going to recap number 3. So we'll talk about that, and then we will jump into our risks for today. We do have all modes possible down in parts of the south and southeast. Storms are ongoing right now as well, so we'll talk about what's going on there. And then we do have a small risk tomorrow in the Ohio Valley associated with this same storm system, so we'll talk about that as well. But before we get into our forecast, we do have a few events going on. One is going on right now here at the Hill Palace. We have a cause and effect training going on today as well as going into tomorrow. I'm not sure if you can still sign up for tomorrow's events, but if you can, it is at justin@hilltrace.com to sign up for tomorrow's events. So there is that going on. And then as we get into near the end of the month, we have a few things going on. It's going to get really busy with those trade shows. On the 26th, we will be in Aurora, Colorado for the CRA trade show. So make sure you come on by and say hi to us. This trade show is going to be at the I guess that's how you say it, I don't know, County Fairgrounds. So if you're there, come on by and say hi to us there. And then we have the SRC trade show down in Dallas from the 29th through the 31st. If you haven't signed up already, you can get, I believe, a discount, and the promo code is HAIL. So we will be there as well. And that's pretty much, I think, it in terms of those events for now. So let's break down the number 3 event for 2022. This was the really big wind event that happened in the central and northern plains from the 11th through the 12th of May. We had a lot of wind as well as a few tornadoes, but it was mostly a straight line wind event that caused all of that damage. So you can see, like we just saw, high winds and a few tornadoes again impacted southern Minnesota, as well as getting into parts of South Dakota, down into Nebraska, and even some down in Kansas. We saw 75-mile-per-hour wind gusts impacting the Minneapolis metro. You can see that swath right there. But the big event really happened in parts of South Dakota, down into western Minnesota, where we saw over 100-mile-per-hour wind gusts through parts of those states. And it caused around $2.8 billion in damage. So yeah, that's our number 3 storm of 2022. Make sure you stay tuned to the top 2 as we go through the rest of the week. But let's check in on our current conditions. You can see I guess you can tell what storm system we're going to be focusing on is this one right here in the middle of the country. Lots of rain, severe weather in the south, and a lot of snow on the cold side of this system. And then we have some rain showers in the northwestern part of the country. But we're going to really focus on this storm system right here because that is the one that's going to be producing more severe weather. We do have a tornado watch in effect until 4 p.m. This afternoon from Arkansas down into northwestern Louisiana and into eastern Texas. We do have a few warnings going on as well, so make sure if you're being impacted by these storms that you take your severe weather precautions, especially if you're under a tornado warning. Make sure you get into the lowest level of your home and stay tuned to your local news stations for the most updated information. But yeah, we are expecting this line to continue to move off to the east as we go through the rest of this afternoon and evening. And then as we go further north, just a lot of precipitation wrapping around this low pressure system. And then we have very heavy snow here in Nebraska down into northern Kansas, as well as some mixed precipitation, and then even more snow in the Denver metro area. So zooming on out and taking a look at our temperatures, it's pretty comfortable south of this system, south of the warm front and east of the cold front. We have a 61-degree temperature in Atlanta, 79 down in Miami, 76 in Houston. We get behind that system though, temperatures start to drop off significantly. It's only 24 in Denver and just at freezing in Minneapolis. So we're just going to briefly look at our watches and warnings. Right now, lots of pink and we have some purples here. This is basically for all that winter weather that is going on right now. So just zooming on in here again, winter storm warnings, winter weather advisories out for a large portion of the central and parts of the northern parts of the U.S. as well. And then we have even more winter weather advisories and winter storm warnings out here in the northwestern parts of the country. So if you're in any of those areas, yeah, it's going to be a bit of a white mess out there. And then getting down into the southern part of the U.S., as this system is pushing off to the east, it's getting quite windy, so we have some red flag warnings out, as well as some high wind warnings out. So make sure that you guys don't burn anything. We don't want any fires out there. And then again, like I mentioned, we have a tornado warning out until 4 p.m. for parts of eastern Texas, northwestern Louisiana, and getting up into southern and central Arkansas. So it's a busy weather day today for all different types of weather. So here is our future radar. Again, we have storms ongoing right now from southeastern Missouri down into central Arkansas, all the way down to eastern Texas. As we get into this afternoon, that line is expected to track off to the east. This is at 5 p.m. Central Time this afternoon. Memphis, you could get a storm or two moving through your area. And then as we get into later in the evening, that storm line will be pushing off even further to the east. Memphis, you should be clear by then. We will be watching the Nashville area basically from 9 p.m. to around midnight or so. And all the way down in Jackson, Mississippi, you guys can get some storms too. And then getting into the overnight, Birmingham, you could see some storms. I don't think they'll be reaching severe limits by then. They should start to lose their intensity a little bit, as we'll be losing that instability. But then as we get into the overnight hours and into tomorrow morning, you can see we're just expecting some heavier showers, maybe a rumble of thunder or two. So here is today's hail forecast. Anywhere from quarter to $half size hail is possible. Basically from Little Rock down to Shreveport, eastward to Jackson and Memphis. So again, we're not expecting very large hail from this system. I think wind and a tornado threat are the higher threats for today. So speaking of those winds, let's take a look at today's wind forecast. And so a bigger area as well. It's basically going to be stretching from southern Illinois and into far southern Indiana. So Evansville, you could squeak in a severe gust or two, and those chances will be stretching south from Nashville, Memphis, Jackson, Little Rock, all the way down to Houston. I think the best chances to see those severe gusts will be from Jackson northward to Little Rock. And then as you go further to the east and we go further into the evening, those storms should start to lose their intensity a bit. So here are our most at-risk cities for today in terms of a wind. Little Rock and Jackson, again, I think you guys have the best chances to see anywhere from 60 to 70 mile per hour wind gusts, and then some lower chances from Memphis to Shreveport, and then a low end chance to see those severe gusts in Nashville and Houston. So here are our dew points for today, as well as getting into tomorrow. You can see where that dry line is set up. It is basically just the east of Dallas now. Lots of moisture streaming in ahead of this system. You can tell with those deeper greens where that moisture is. And then as we get into later on this evening, the dry line will start to push off to the east, as well as that moisture. Shreveport will start losing that moisture, but yeah, Memphis all the way, maybe as just to the west of Birmingham. We have to keep an eye on you guys in terms of that moisture and the instability. And then getting into tomorrow, this system will push off to the east, and we will have moisture present. However, in terms of instability, I'll get to that in just a second, we're not going to have a whole lot. So we'll still have that cold front. We could have a few showers ongoing tomorrow morning into tomorrow afternoon, but in terms of severe weather in the southeast, at this time, it doesn't look like we're going to be seeing anything. We'll have that risk further to the north. And then that cold front should push off to the coast with the exception of Florida by Friday morning. So here is our instability. We do have some right now, basically from Houston northward to the Memphis area. And then as we get into this afternoon, you can see that instability really starts to drop off. So there will be storms and there could be some severe weather, but in terms of really intense stuff, we have to see what that instability does. And then getting into the overnight, you can see it's very, very little there. And then getting into tomorrow morning, just a little bit in the panhandle of Florida. Otherwise, after that, it's pretty much nothing, which is why I'm saying for tomorrow in the southeast, we should be relatively quiet in terms of severe weather because we won't have that instability there. And you can see as we get into Thursday night into Friday, still nothing is showing up on that particular model. Now, in terms of significant tornadoes, we could see a few today in terms of really big ones. At this time, we don't have a whole lot of instability, but we cannot rule out a tornado or two here in the southeast. So this is at 3 p.m. Central Time. We do have some indicators that we could see a tornado or two, and then that continues off to the east as we get into this evening at 8 p.m. Central Time. So we'll be watching you guys if you're in Jackson all the way up to just the southwest of Nashville near that Tennessee and Mississippi border. And then as we get into the overnight, you can see it just starts to die off. So this afternoon and evening looks like it will be the best time frame to see that severe weather. As we get into the overnight, those chances start to drop off very quickly as we lose that instability. So let's get right into it. Tomorrow we're gonna wake up and it's gonna be a big old wet mess in the northeast. Lots of rain basically from my home state of Michigan into parts of eastern Ohio, all the way into Pennsylvania, with some storms possibly ongoing in Kentucky and eastern Tennessee. However, I think they should not be at severe limits. Just some heavier rain, maybe a rumble thunder or two, and then getting into tomorrow morning, that moisture will start to track off to the east as that cold front pushes off to the east with it. But then around 2 p.m. Central Time, so this is at 3 p.m. Eastern, you can see a few individual cells will try to form near the Indiana-Ohio border. So we could see a very marginal chance of both hail and wind tomorrow afternoon. And that will be pushing off to the northeast as we get to 5 p.m. Eastern Time. This is basically on the back end of that low pressure system. So there's a lot of cold air sinking. So these storms will be elevated. We're not expecting anything too crazy, but marginal risk for both hail and wind, again, are possible tomorrow. And then getting into tomorrow evening, that line will push off to the east, and then it should quiet down after sunset and later on in the evening, tomorrow evening. In terms of severe weather, we'll just see some light to moderate rain, and that will continue to stick around as we get into tomorrow night into Friday. So here is tomorrow's hail forecast. Again, just a really small area, very marginal chance. Up to quarter-size hail is possible from Fort Wayne, Indiana to Columbus, Ohio, eastward to Cleveland. And then for the wind tomorrow, up to 60-mile-per-hour gusts, if they do happen, will be here in the same areas from Fort Wayne, Indiana, down to Columbus, Ohio, eastward to Cleveland. And that will be associated with the low pressure system itself. Now, in terms of our future, what the heck is going on? Well, we have the jet stream. Again, it's pretty far south. Lots of warm air, though, getting ahead of that cold front. As we get into our Wednesday and into our Thursday, this trough will start to push off to the northeast, so we could see a storm or two in Ohio and Indiana tomorrow afternoon, and this will be the lift for those storms. And then getting into our Friday, that system will push off to the east. Then we have another trough here starting to dig in the southwest. But at this time, it's just going to be cold, you guys. Unfortunately, it is still winter. We have lots of winter left, and that cold air is going to be taking over for our Friday and into basically our whole entire weekend. So after today and into tomorrow, Friday and our weekend should be quiet in terms of severe weather. It's just going to be a little bit chilly outside, unfortunately. So enjoy that warm weather while you can if you're in those warm areas. So that's all I have for you today. Make sure you follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and our TikTok page. And then if you have any questions, concerns, or you just want to say hi, you can give us a call at 855-334-4245. You can email us at info@hailtrace.com and check out our website at www.hailtrace.com. And I am meteorologist Heather Kay. I hope you'll have a great rest of your Wednesday.